at-home screening test. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and request your free at-home screening test. That's it. Go to know today.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at OnWord or on Facebook at Forward. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
Stare at him at night and think of schemes. I stay with her each night, but you're in my dreams. You're telling him that you're going out just to meet some friends. I wonder if this great charade will ever end. We're just a midnight love affair. We get together and go nowhere. I really like to tell the world we care, but we're just another late night love affair.
All right. Welcome back to our WURD segment. I haven't heard that song in a long time. Welcome back to WURD Special Earth Day live broadcast here on WURD. I'm Charles Ellison. Thank you everyone for listening and for tuning in and have some great insightful discussions. And it's just like what Zuline Mayfield was saying earlier, like we don't celebrate Earth Day. Earth Day is a very serious day for us and a day to rethink some things and to also start to mobilize on a number of these issues. I want to thank once again Keystone First and Pico for making this all possible today, and we'll continue to do so at hashtag EcoWord, hashtag EcoWord for more there to learn more about, also ecoword.com to learn more about our environmental justice journalism initiative where we talk about these issues regularly, and especially on programs like Reality Check on WURD. Joining me now is Nicole Keels Magruder, founder and president of Community Community Hero. And so go to communityhero.org for more there. Also has, and I'm not sure if you still are, Nicole, but I know you're state political director for the NAACP.
Yes, you know.
Pennsylvania.
Yes, my sound is a little low.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yeah, just a little low.
Just a little low? Okay.
All right.
I'll keep talking. Okay, that's better?
Okay.
All right, excellent. So talk to us about Community Hero, because that's a fairly new organization. You also put together, and I participated in, the Black Health Matters PA conference, which just happened about a few weeks ago. Fantastic conference. You unpacked quite a bit there, but talk about Community Hero and then talk about how Black Health Matters came together.
Sure. So thank you again for having me on today, Charles, and happy Earth Day to you. And want to say happy birthday to my son Aeneas. He's 20 years old today. But yes. So as Charles mentioned, I am the executive director of Community Hero Action Group. I've been a community advocate probably for over a decade. And most recently, I was the NAACP Pennsylvania State Conference Political Action Chair up until about 3 weeks before the last election. And then I turned my focus towards local communities, especially in Montgomery County. So Community Hero focused primarily on making sure that our community understood voting and demystified all the voting options that were out there. Right. And so we weren't telling people what to do, but just to make sure they voted. So whether or not it was mail-in ballot or registering in person didn't matter, just that we vote. So we explain things in a way in which folks can understand through online forums, social media campaigns, pop-up rallies, and we actually led an initiative called Vote Today Monco, which was an awareness campaign of voting options that went all the way up to the election day. And Montgomery County actually had the largest turnout in the state. So I'd like to think that we played a part in that. But what I learned from my work across the state was that there was a clear void and disconnect between very well-meaning, hardworking activists and community members. So Community Hero kind of stepped in to fill that void and bridge those partnerships. And our goal was to be responsive and provide our community with education in a digestible manner. So we leave all the egos and laurels at the door. And so we've been able to move forward and still work with legacy organizations like our local NAACPs, but also grassroots organizations such as Grown, which supports returning citizens. So we've been able to start this year off strong. And we had our first conference, just as you just mentioned, our first
Black
annual
Health Matters, PA.
Yeah.
And you know, how were you able to, because you weaved quite a few issues, you know, about public health, about the environment, all into one. And that's one of the, you know, sorts of challenges, you know, that we've been grappling with, you know, throughout this broadcast, throughout this day, is just, you know, figuring out ways like how you do a Community Hero, like, you know, very user-friendly, accessible ways to make those conversations surrounding public health and the environment relevant. But also like priority, right? And you were able to do that with that Black Health Matters conference.
Absolutely. What we did is we made sure that all the topics that I believe are somehow related to priorities that exist within the community. So we talked about the chronic diseases that afflict the African American community and how they're connected to our environment. We talked about Alzheimer's. We talked about the mental health issues that our community is undergoing right now. So we took those topics that are kind of like the hot topics that we hear about right now and just placed them in a format which we thought would be engaging, and made sure that we had trusted messengers from the community. So I see you just had Representative Napoleon Nelson on. So we had, you know, members of the Black Legislative Caucus on talking about Black health policy within the state. We had the Alzheimer's organization on. We had U.S. Senator Bob Casey. We had the Secretary of Aging, Bob Torres, on. So we had all of these experts and clinicians, and I think even more importantly, we had individuals of color that are experts in their area provide us with that information. And they were very instrumental in also designing the program formatting to make sure that it resonated with our audience.
And you and I have had this conversation before offline about like, how do we prioritize like environmental issues? And I was having this conversation pressing Representative Nelson on this too. Like, how do we intersect? How do we reframe this in such a way where, because he was saying, you know, it's a challenge for him, like even his own constituents, they don't consider in their minds, like environment is not a number one issue, but it can be, it should be when you reframe it, when you reframe and totally like upend the way we typically think of the environment. We typically think, oh, when it's the environment thing, it's like, oh, let's plant more trees, or, you know, let's clean the water. Yeah, those things. Of course, we need to do those things. But then, right, Nicole, when it intersects with those other community issues, you know, like when Black Health Matters conference, like I had to moderate the panel on food, on nutrition, and then so we get into a conversation about, you know, lack of like access to grocery stores and solid food in our communities. That's a big problem. Well, you know, it's not just a simple problem of diet. There's a larger, bigger kind of environmental issue that deals with food deserts and food security, insecurity, waste, etc. It all starts to intersect and make sense.
Absolutely. You touched on a lot of what I was going to speak about. Yeah, we have to talk about the fact that, number one, we need to dispel the myth that environmental justice is like melting ice caps and deforestation, and right. That's environmental justice. So right. We have to keep in mind that our environment is our space, where we live, our communities, our schools, our blocks. That is what our environment is. So if we focus on things like that and look at the interconnectedness of how that impacts our health. Specifically, you just mentioned about food deserts. And, you know, right now we know in a lot of Black communities, it is so much easier to go and grab an orange hug and a bag of hot chips than it is to find right. a salad, yeah. Right? And so why is that? I lived in California for a period of time, and it was the first time in my life where I was introduced to the notion that communities actually ban fast food restaurants. So you see a community that is obviously very well respected, can advocate well for themselves, and their public officials listened. And so guess what? They had healthy options. But when you don't have those things in place, then you have a community of fast food restaurants with low cost, nutritionally void fast food on every single corner. That affects our health. You know, and I don't want to oversimplify things or make it seem like it's our fault, because if you look at the intersectedness of the jobs that we have, and the fact that a lot of times Black households are working 2 and 3 jobs. So guess what? Fast food sometimes is that go-to option because time and money are a premium. So you can't really separate one without looking at all these other factors that impact our environmental health and impact environmental justice.
How, you know, and one of the things that intrigues me about the work that you do, Nicole, like you're right at that intersection of the grass tops and the grassroots. And so how do we encourage, like, not just better conversations, but better collaboration, better synergy between the grass tops, like, you know, the influencers, the policymakers, the folks who are, you know, helping determine and make a lot of those decisions. Because we, at the end of the day, we need our advocacy and our protests and our demands to translate into actual policy and law, you know, so then we can like permanently protect our spaces. But how do we, there's that I do find, especially in the Philadelphia area and everywhere really, for that matter, and really I find that like in every Black community, there is this disconnect, and it's growing, you know, between the grass tops and the grassroots, like, and those two kind of groups and segments of the population, they need to be collaborating and finding synergy and making sure that this kind of conversation is translating into some kind of real change.
You're absolutely right. And what I think is, you know, I think there are different types of organizations that are going to resonate with different audiences, and I've learned that. Yeah. So I know with Community Hero, I found those groups whose mission number one is similar to mine, so that there is no competition or vying for, you know, being that front person. I think that's number one, is we have to eliminate some of those, the egos that I think exist a lot within our community. Let's just be honest. Yeah. And think about, okay, what is it that we're all trying to accomplish, and creating those spaces where we all have that voice and we can all come together. You were a part of that forum with the environmental justice forum that we had, and we had all of these leaders, these Black leaders that were these environmental pioneers in the community, all together. The power of them actually being able to come together and having these community think tanks within our community, so we understand what it means to go green. How does it really impact our community? I think it's so very important that, because we've been away from the table for so long, and we generally are not a part of this conversation, that we need to be educated as a community. So it's important to bring these trusted messengers in to have these ongoing discussions, not one off. I love what you're doing today, you know, having this segment dedicated solely to this. And then after, you know, you do your piece, other folks need to keep this conversation, you know, going. We need to talk about it in the community to make sure that it stays top of mind and that it's really addressed in a meaningful way. And not just on Earth Day.
And you know what, and going beyond that too, you know, we need that recognition, that awareness around environmental justice issues, but then we need to make sure that this translates into environmental economics, as I've been calling it, right? You know, making sure that our people, if we're in the front line of being disproportionately impacted by these calamities, these catastrophes, well, you know, as the clean energy sector, for example, or the economy around the solutions to those crises start to evolve, we need to be a part of that. How does that happen? How do you think, what do you see happening? And like, especially when you're looking at our community, how we plug more into that?
Right. So that's a very hot topic right now. There's a ton of money being dumped into this sector. Right. I think the last report I read, there was like $2 trillion that was being committed to clean energy. So we have all these private investors and companies that are doubling down. So we have to become educated as a community to understand where we fit in. No one's going to come and kind of just like put on a silver platter for us. Right. So we have to, number one, become educated. We have to, go after these, these green jobs. We have to be advocates in our community. We have to talk to our representatives and officials to let them know what we need in our community. And so we have to remain very, very vocal. And something, I was having this discussion with someone the other day, and even things like looking at ETFs, which I'm not giving stock advice, but if you look at kind of like the growth and which ones are performing better, you can actually kind of get a little glimpse as to a hint of where potential jobs and opportunities might be. So we have to, number one, I said, educate ourselves. And also we have to make sure that we're not used by other organizations, because we tend to have great ideas and we have plans for what needs to be done in the community, but they're not funded. But we have outside organizations that will come in and leverage their relationship with us, although we really don't have a space at the table, but because they leverage this relationship with us, they're able to attract more funding. So when we have these relationships that we've created with these larger organizations that will come in from outside of our community, we not only need to have a sit-down conversation, but we need to demand to be equitable partners in discussions and as well as funding, so that the projects that need to get actually funded actually get funded.
That's right. That's right. We need to do more of that. Don't definitely let people recognize our value. So I've had to do that as of recent. I'm like, nah, it's like Black Lives Matter. People want to tap into your expertise or your pride, because you have a special connection, a unique connection to a community that they're trying to scope in on, and then they want that kind of expertise and that kind of work and energy for free. And it's like, no, it's like that's part of the reason why we're where we are right now, is because folks refuse to make those investments. There's no parity. That's another conversation, Nicole. I'll bring you in on that one at another time. We ran out of time. Nicole Kills Magruder of Community Hero Action Group, communityhero.org for more information to see what she's up to. And so I have her back on. She's joining, and also convener, founder of the first annual, which will be an annual, Black Health Matters PA, very important conference. I had a fantastic time. I was a keynote and also a moderator there. So I had to get her on to see how that went. Nicole, thanks for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on.
All right.
Have a good day.
Safe. You too. All right. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back here on EcoWord, our special Earth Day broadcast. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. The world is inching back to normalcy, but our approach to educating our children may never be the same. Commonwealth Charter Academy, or CCA, has nearly 20 years of experience providing a flexible, stable, online education in the comfort of your home. Enroll today at ccaeducate.me. Here are the benefits to your children and your family. Number 1, world-class education and accredited lesson plans streamed directly into your home at no cost to you. Number 2, laptops, headphones, and high-speed internet access, all provided at no cost to you. And number 3, a learning environment completely free from classroom risks like bullying and other distractions. CCA has been in our community long before this health crisis and will continue to faithfully serve students and families well into the future. Join the more than 2,500 students from Philly who already attend CCA. Enroll now at ccaeducate.me.
As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium offers COVID-19 vaccines and COVID-19 testing at these locations. First come, first served. Saturday, April 24th and Sunday, April 25th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Dell Music Center, 2400 Strawberry Mansion Drive. Monday, April 19th from 9 a.m. a.m. till 11 a.m. at SEPTA Suburban Station, 16th and JFK Boulevard. Monday, April 19th, Tuesday, April 20th, and Thursday, April 22nd from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. at the Leah Chorus Center, 1776 North Broad Street. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at On WURD or on Facebook at Forward. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
All right, Janelle Elegum Ketchum is founder, CEO of Nutrition Unlimited. Go to nutritionunlimited.com for more information. She is a nutritionist, a registered certified nutritionist, and that's a very big discussion, very big topic that we don't explore enough, but it is a very important element to this Earth Day discussion, a special EcoWord broadcast that we're bringing to you here today. Janelle, how are you doing? See you.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. Talk, if you could, briefly, like, about being a nutritionist, what that's all about. Like, what is a nutritionist, and how have you seen? There's been a lot more emphasis on food and the nutrition space. Well, one, we've seen food diversify quite a bit over the past generation, and then two, there's been a heavier emphasis on nutrition. How have you seen that space evolve?
So I'll start first with just explaining a little bit about the background of being a registered dietitian, nutritionist. So for this field, we have to have a degree in dietetics and nutrition, at least a Bachelor of Science degree, and then we have to do an internship. And after that, then we are eligible to take a national exam and become registered nationwide. And in addition to that, in Pennsylvania, we also have to become licensed in the state. In many states, we also have to have an additional licensure. So I always like to talk about that a little bit because I think we sometimes get put into a category with other people that are considered nutritionists, where they just take maybe a course for a few months and then they can call themselves a nutritionist. So because we take a lot of different science classes, anatomy and physiology, we take a lot of biochemistry and other classes, and other sort of almost pre-med classes, we are able to really do medical nutrition therapy. So that means we are licensed and we have the capability to look at at their blood work and really help them to manage chronic illnesses. So I would say that's a big difference between us and other nutritionists. They don't have that licensure, and ideally shouldn't be giving people advice that have chronic illnesses, because that's kind of beyond their reach.
When we think about nutrition, you feel like everyone should have a nutritionist. Well, of course, I mean, I know that the answer to that, of course, yeah, everyone should have a nutritionist. So
yeah, so definitely.
Right, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So nutritionunlimitedrd.com. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, I definitely. Yes, that's it. So I definitely think that everyone, ideally, at some time or another, should see a registered dietitian, because we don't only see people that have a chronic illness, but we can help with prevention of a chronic illness. And we don't just, focus just on weight and how, people look on the outside. We really focus in on how are you doing on the inside? What is your blood work like? What is your family history? Maybe you are at risk for certain chronic illnesses, and now everything looks great, but maybe 20 years down the line, you may not be looking as great on the inside, and your blood work may tell a different story. So we can really help people with helping them with prevention. And that's something, unfortunately, I know for my practice, I don't get to do as much. It's something that we would love to do more of. But a lot of times there's sort of a stigma with seeing a registered dietitian, where a lot of people think that, oh, only if I have a problem, that's when I should see them. I want to lose weight, then I should see one. I have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or diabetes, then I could see someone. Those are all great reasons, but we should also be thinking a lot about prevention. And the great thing about, especially in our current area, in our tri-state area, is that a lot of health insurance companies actually have that same mindset, and they have coverage for our services. So that's another way that we're a lot different to people that are just nutritionists. We can bill health insurance plans. So health insurance companies have recognized us as healthcare practitioners, and they have seen that what we do, there's research really showing that we can help with prevention and also help with intervention for a lot of chronic illnesses. So we can, help people in the long run from reducing hospitalizations, reducing medication use, and a lot of, different things like that. So a lot of times, many people can see it at no cost, no copay, no cost to them at all. I think that sometimes maybe people just don't know, about that service, even though it's covered with their health insurance plan, or maybe some people have that mindset thinking that, oh, I should only see someone if I have a problem.
Yeah. Talk, if you will, about, so we talk about, when we talk about diet, and then we talk about it in the context of issues like environmental justice, we have to be very careful when we have that conversation, because there are things that are outside of people's control that force them to make dietary decisions that otherwise they wouldn't make, right? And so it's tricky to have that conversation, because sometimes folks will tend to put the onus of, they're dealing with these quality of life issues because they're making bad dietary choices. But no, well, I would love to make better dietary choices, but I live in a food swamp. I live in a food desert. Like I don't have ready access, or I rely on mass transit. So I don't have a car to get to like the best grocery store, or to like, the whole paycheck place to go get the better, healthier food. I've got to deal with, maybe a store that's not as stocked or well equipped. A lot of the food's expiring. I've been redlined and gentrified into this food desert space. Talk a little bit about that.
So that is great topic. That's actually something that we see fairly often. Something that we really specialize with is really tying in our clients into the community and different community resources. So actually, luckily in Philadelphia, we have a lot of resources. And actually, I feel like we have a lot of food resources that people do not know about. Wow. So from things like community refrigerators, which really have done a lot through the pandemic, where pretty much the community donates food. They even have sometimes local farms that donate food and other things. So even in a community refrigerator, there may be things like, healthier options there, maybe some vegetables, maybe different beans and things like that, at no cost. They are all throughout the city. There are also other local farms. So for example, and Black-owned farms actually, that are doing a lot of great things for the community. So in North Philadelphia, they have a farm there that has been doing a whole lot. Urban Creators, they're in the heart of North Philadelphia. And so that's something that for our clients in that area, we tie them into a lot of the work they do. They give a lot of free produce that's grown right there in North Philadelphia. And they also provide things like free meals. Typically also more pre-pandemic, they also do activities and other things on site also. In West Philadelphia, we have another Black-owned farm that's doing a lot of great things, Sankofa Community Farm, and they offer very low-cost produce. They'll be starting up again, probably late spring into the summertime. And then, we have other farms like Farmer John. She is out in Elkins Park area. So we have different organizations like that that are really doing amazing things to really get out there in the community and not have those, big gaps with having access to healthy, fresh produce. A lot of them offer produce either at very low cost or no cost. There are other programs where community members can get free produce boxes on different days. And then we also have other programs where you can go to other farmers markets through the Food Trust. They have a wonderful program where if you use your access card, you get coupons back, like these food bucks. So every $5 you spend, you get $2 back, and you can use that on more produce. Use your access card back. So there are a lot of different things like that. And then, of course, we also work with people with, which grocery stores and other things that they have that are closer to them, and work with the foods that are accessible, and then see how, they can get maybe some staple items there. So for some people, it might be more canned goods. It may be more beans. It may be, looking at the meats that you're having, maybe having them ever so often
Right.
And then tying in, you know, some of the fresh produce with a lot of these different organizations. But what I've seen I've got
to stop you there too, Janelle. Unfortunately, ran out of time. So we'll definitely bring you back. I'm gonna bring you back for sure. So
all right, I'd love to come back.
Janelle Ellison Ketchum is a licensed nutritionist, also founder CEO of Nutrition Unlimited, nutritionunlimitedrd.com. For more information there, to get in touch with her. As she was saying, you know, a lot of these services don't cost you anything at all to just talk to a nutrition, and it's very, you know, as it's saying, the old maxim, you are what you eat. So, you know, like it's very important that diet, that nutrition is very important. And a good parting thought as we end our Eco Word coverage, our special Earth Day coverage today. Thanks so much, Janelle. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Be safe and be well out there. I'm Charles Ellison. I've been your host, your anchor for just doing double duty. I was in City Council Live earlier this morning, and then we went straight into it. And Eco Word, the Fight for Our Space special Earth Day broadcast, because it is a fight. So let's continue that fight. Of course, when I return on Monday for a reality check, 10 a.m. sharp, God willing, we're going to continue that discussion like we do every day, talking about some element of the environment, some aspect of the space that we must fight for, that we're trying to live in, and we're just trying to thrive in. We're trying to tell people, just leave us alone. Just let us live. But you know, we got a lot of work to do. So I hope that this program and the conversations that we curated today helped us, help guide you in that direction, help give you the strength to fight for our space. I'm Charles Ellison. Continue to go to #EcoWord, also ecoword.com. I want to thank Keystone First and Pico for making this broadcast very much possible. I want to thank all the listeners, and for some folks who called in as well, and all the guests. Janelle who's hanging in there with us to the very end. I want to thank Mike C on the Board of Steel as well. Really appreciate everyone staying tuned. So continue to stay tuned to WURD Radio, WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, also WURDradio.com, and WURD TV and WURD app. Next coming up is Evening Words with Nick Talaferro. So he's coming up next here on WURD. Everyone have a great weekend. Stay sharp, stay smart, but more importantly, please stay safe out there. Be well. I'll talk to you next week.